Продовжуємо роботу в українському кризовому.
We shall continue our work at the UCMC, and I'm giving the floors to the Principal Deputy Chief Monitor, Mr. Alexander Hug, on weekly updates about the security situation and activities of the OSCE SMM.
Good afternoon, dear friends. Violence continues unabated in eastern Ukraine. Last week we actually recorded a 45% increase in the number of ceasefire violations. Of note was the violence we recorded in the western suburbs of Donetsk city on 24th of May. In just over an hour, our monitors recorded over 500 ceasefire violations, including about 170 explosions. Reflecting volatility along the contact line, this burst of violence passed as suddenly as it had come. It's easy to forget, given this violence, that the sides have actually agreed and have committed to a comprehensive ceasefire. Starting in September 2014, there has been a series of agreements dealing with the withdrawal of weapons, ceasefire, disengagement of forces and hardware, and mine action. The sides have similarly agreed that the OSCE SMM should have safe and unfettered access to all areas of Ukraine. What is lacking is respect for the agreements already signed. Read almost any OSCE SMM daily report and you will see clear evidence of proscribed weapons in violation of the agreed withdrawal lines. On 23rd May, for instance, the SM saw a 122mm T-30 howitzer in Donetsk city. The day before, just west of Novoaidar, we spotted a 152mm D-20 howitzer. You will also see how our monitors document ceasefire violations in the form of explosions and small arms fire, often numbering in the thousands on a daily basis. You will see how disengagement in free pilot areas has been, at best, only partial, and that little or nothing has been done in terms of mine action. On 21st May, for instance, a 34-year-old man miraculously escaped with his life after his tractor detonated a mine near government-controlled Talakivka. You will also read about ongoing restrictions on SMM patrolling, with monitors facing threats and risks on a daily basis. Last week, for example, we recorded 34 instances in which our patrols on the ground had their freedom of movement restricted. 20 of those cases were in and around the free disengagement areas, even though the sides have explicitly promised to remove mines and unexploded ordnance. They have failed to do so in these areas, meaning that our patrols have not full access there. In the other 14 cases, outside the disengagement areas, all were in areas not controlled by the government. If you read our reports, ultimately, though, you will see how the first victims of the side's failure to honor their commitments are invariably civilians. Our reports have become a daily catalogue of human suffering. Damage and destruction to civilian property and infrastructure is laid out in concrete terms, while the human cost to life and limb is collated. Last week, for instance, we confirmed 9 civilian casualties, 6 women and 3 men injured, 5 in areas not under government control in Yakovlivka, Oleksandrivka, Holomyssky, and the southwestern district of Donetsk city, and 4 in government-controlled areas in Avdiivka and Krasnohorivka. Dear friends, these statistics do not, however, capture the terror and panic when mortars and artillery rounds impact. Pupils and staff from 2 schools in Marinka, for instance, ended their school year huddled in basements when the area was shelled last week. Our monitors were also at the school nearby Alexandrivka on the 24th of May as shells impacted in the district. There they saw as teachers ran into the school playground, shepherding children from exposed ground. In Krasnohorivka, our monitors saw severe shell damage to a hospital, a school, and residential property. Dear friends, I have made the point before. It is far easy to become immune to this suffering, to this abnormality. But it is not normal. And although we in the OSCE SMM observe and report on it every day, we refuse to see it as normal. And neither should you. Normal was when one could fly to Donetsk, when kids go to school in peace in Avdiivka and Yasinovata, and families held barbecues on the beach in Shirokine, or waited at a picturesque bus stop in Svetlodarsk without the noise of incoming and outgoing fire. That was normal. What we see now, what is reflected in our reports, is not. We don't write these reports for the sake of it. The last thing we want for them to sit on a bureaucrat's desk gathering dust. We do it because we have a mandated responsibility to report on the security and humanitarian situation. We do it so as to contribute with facts, indisputable facts, to the decision-making process. We have all seen how misinformation and the manipulation of information has disastrously led to some very ill-informed and damaging decisions. But what does this mean in reality? What does it mean to say that our reports contribute to the decision-making process in practice? Ultimately, we do it to highlight reality, to show the difference between what people promise to do and what they actually do. We write these reports to distinguish between fact and fiction, between commitments and deeds, between promises and practice. Dear friends, people all across Donbass desperately need a new reality. Those people know their current reality. They see it every day, right in front of them. Violence is no stranger. But for many people, especially those making decisions directly impacting on the situation in Donbass, this reality has less immediate impact. Indeed, listening to their rhetoric, I suspect they are far removed from reality. For these people, whose decisions will shape the new reality, they desperately need to understand the current one. That reality is one of broken promises and unfulfilled commitments. A new reality, one in which children are not huddled in basements, afraid of dying, is very close. The agreements have already been reached, the commitments made. Dear friends, today is International Children's Day, when we are reminded of the need to cherish and protect the youngest and most vulnerable. Those in position of responsibility need to take responsibility for their future. Read our reports, see what the reality is. Do what you promise to do, create a new reality, restore peace, ensure a future for children free of violence and fear. As usual, here at the end of my statement, I would like to inform you about the latest mission numbers. As of today, the mission has 653 monitors, of whom 573 are deployed to the east. In addition, there are 344 Ukrainian colleagues and 85 other international staff working for the SMM. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hook. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions? If there is no question, there is one question. Українською?
Запитання буде поставлене українською мовою. Crimean News. And I have the following question. The chief monitor, Ambassador Apekan, said that there were some reasonable plans to introduce some new monitoring system. This week he stated that. I was just questioning, could you provide more detail on this new monitoring system to be introduced? It was the outcome of the discussion with the 27 ambassadors who paid a visit to Ukraine recently.
I can't comment on this statement as I'm not familiar with it, but we will certainly be able to respond to it once you provide it to us. Thank you.
Чи є ще запитання? If there is no questions,
У нас немає інших запитань. Дякую.